We'll get that on our screen. Oh, yes. Oh, yeah. Welcome to the Lake Stevens Planning Commission meeting for June 5th, 2023. I am Vice Chair Jennifer Davis, and I think we'll call the meeting to order by welcoming our City Council liaison, Council Member Donahue. So welcome, we're happy to have you. And then we will do a roll call of our members. So let's start. I like to say it out loud. So let's start. Commissioner Holt. I'm here. Commissioner Davis.
Present.
Commissioner Huxford.
Here.
Commissioner Morton.
Here.
And I'm Commissioner Davis here. And so we are missing Commissioner Dewar. And we should be entertaining a motion to excuse, correct? Yes.
So moved.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And I'd also just like to say for the record that we are also missing Commissioner Welch. And I just want to say how much I've appreciated his contributions to the commission. And he's moved on, but we will miss him and wish him the best. And then we should also do the Pledge of Allegiance. So if you all face the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. The next item on our agenda is guest business, and we don't have anybody in person, but I'm wondering if we might have anyone online. This is as you know, the part of our agenda where people can discuss things that aren't part of our discussion items. Oh, okay. Our action items, it doesn't look like, oh, we need to approve the minutes. Has everyone had a chance to review?
I move that we accept the minutes for the meeting of May 17th, 23.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Excellent. So we'll move on to our discussion item. Tonight, it's the Climate Sustainability Plan update. So we look forward to the staff report.
Good evening. Melissa Place, Senior Planner.
Melissa Place, Senior Planner with the city, and bringing the climate plan back to you for an update and review, and would like your input this evening. There's no action required. It's a briefing to kind of let you know where we're at, where we've been in the last month or so, and then just wanting your specific review and input on the attachments that are provided in the staff report. We last updated you on this plan on April 19th. So it has been a while. In May, we didn't have any draft documents ready for you in order to bring to you in May for your review and input. So you're getting quite a few of them tonight. And then this plan is required to be adopted by the end of June for the Department of Commerce grant. And in order to do that, it does have to go to council for adoption. So this will be your last crack at the plan, if you will, tonight. Before it goes to council, there isn't time in the schedule to have another meeting before the end of the month and also have council adopt it. So hoping to get your input on this, make any revisions that you have to this by next week, and then get the draft entire plan in front of council next Tuesday. That is the goal and the schedule right now. So a little bit of update on what's occurred since we last met. Legislative update wise, there is, we had kind of talked about it at the last meeting, but House Bill 1181, which is the bill that brought forth the requirement for a climate mitigation element into cities' comprehensive plans, did pass the legislature, and it was signed into law by the governor earlier. Well, I think we're in June now, so it was May of 2023. But the bill does require that climate mitigation and policies into our comprehensive plan. So that's a big change. And we've been following it pretty closely in terms of what that does require. So this climate plan is going to be a soft approach. It's going to be a first crack at it. We're going to have a number of conversations in the years that follow in order to fully roll this out as per the GMA guidance and requirements. There's still an element that we don't know, which is Department of Commerce is developing this model climate element. And then we're going to be looking at that and just deciding in the future what of those things that we are required to put in the plan and what are we required to update in our comp plan. For this particular plan and what council will adopt, it will be integrated into our 2024 update next year. And it won't likely be a separate element, but pieces and policies will be sprinkled throughout the comp plan. That's what we're intending right now. And so when we did reach out to Department of Commerce, trying to find out timeline wise what that would be, and I think this is mentioned in the staff report, this ultimate rollout would be by 2029. So we're in 2023, you got 6 years effectively to keep working on this. So you'll see a lot of this in the next few years, just a very initial crack at it. Let's see, I provided links to the Department of Commerce program page in the staff report and also the House Bill 1181 if you wanted that additional information and reading to do. So then draft plan approach. So in May, the council, we provided them with a copy of the draft climate plan. It was very draft. And what you're seeing tonight has been more refined. And they did provide feedback on that plan, which we shared with our consultant. They've made revisions to it. We did have a public comment period that we ran on the draft from May 18th to June 2nd. So it just ended last Friday. I've just checked with the consultant today to find out how many public comments we received, and we received 8 public comments to date. So since that's closed on Friday, that's ultimately all the comments we've received are the 8, including any comments we received from Planning Commission and the council and other legislative bodies. We also received a public comment from Cascade Natural Gas on this recently as well, and about integration of adding some language in making sure that not everything turns electric, that there's still some opportunities for gas there. And then so the first thing we did was change climate mitigation plan to climate sustainability plan. The title has been changed per some of the feedback and input that we received. And then the vision statement has become a hybrid of option 1 and option 3 that we had shown before. And that vision statement is it's actually in the draft plan that is attachment 2 to the staff report. And I can point out the specific page number if you'd like that. I don't know if you've all looked at that vision statement. The plan, as you see, doesn't include all the appendices to date. There's still several that are under development. As this is such a quick timeline, we're continually working. But I think a number of those elements you've seen. And then any of the ones you haven't seen, we tried to attach to this staff report tonight. So attachment number 3 is the final equity assessment report. Attachment 4 is the draft cost assessment, and attachment 5 is this draft implementation plan. So attachment 3 in the draft equity assessment report is really examining the impacts, both intended of not and not of the policies that are in the plan on communities of color, low income populations, and overburdened populations. And then it provides a list of recommendations and equity considerations that we can consider including into the draft actions. The cost assessment, which is attachment 4, we just received last week. Staff took a crack at it, had some comments, revisions, gave it to the consultant. They made some of those revisions. And then council has not seen the cost assessment yet. It's going before them tomorrow evening. And the implementation plan they have not seen as well. So that'll go be in front of council tomorrow evening, both of those. So what in the cost assessment, we selected 10 actions out of the total of 46 that we have. We are scoped for 10 in our scope with the consultant. And of those 10, it's a mix of those being a higher impact rating and those that the city can take directly. And so in that cost assessment, and I know there's a lot of spreadsheets and it's kind of hard to see in the PDF. It was very hard because it's an Excel spreadsheet that goes on for a while to try to convert that to PDF. So I apologize, but the goal was putting it in PDF, being able to zoom in, and hopefully you can see a lot of that zooming in. And then the same with the implementation plan. I know there was some matrix in there as well. It's a little bit easier for reading, but that is to prioritize these actions, and the cost assessment and the implementation plan kind of go hand in hand in what actions do we want to try to take a crack at early that we can implement effectively and quickly. And what are those are more midterm, long-term that we're going to be working on in the future. So the implementation plan also is intended to provide guidance on tracking, oversight, funding, and then what community involvement can we get. So the next steps are we are going to provide council with this entire draft plan next Tuesday. So we're going to take any input from Planning Commission this evening, give it to the consultant, have them make revisions, get input from the council tomorrow night on the cost assessment and the implementation plan, and then make revisions. And then next Tuesday in front of council, they will have the draft plan. I will ask council tomorrow evening if their plan is to want to adopt next Tuesday, or if they want to just look at the plan, think about it, make changes, and then adopt later this month. And yeah, so that is everything I wanted to present this evening. And I do really appreciate everyone meeting for this one item on the agenda, and looking forward to any feedback, questions, comments you have on that.
So the urgency and just to note, we didn't have our mic on. So when we were seconding and all of that, we were very silent over here for a little bit. We've got loud and clear now. Thank you. So the urgency is for the grant, not necessarily the implementation at this point. I mean, they go hand in hand, but you need to get this pushed through to do the paperwork for the grant, correct?
That's correct. Yes, we have to get reimbursement from the grant, and I've talked with the state. Technically, everything is to be done June 15th, but because it's not all going to be wrapped up then, and we're not the only jurisdiction in that boat, we can submit a request for reimbursement to the state before that point, give them all the documents we have, and then once everything's finalized, we can send it to the state as well, and they're accepting of that. But we can always pay the consultant after, but we can't get that reimbursement or request it from the state later than June 15th. So,
And not that we would deviate in a huge way from what we get the grant money to help support, but how much leeway do you have after that between now and 2029? How much leeway is there to massage this to be actually adopted into the community itself?
I think there's going to be quite a bit. I think we'll be, as you look at the House Bill 1181 and the Growth Management Act requirements that are coming down, there's going to be quite a bit more work that we'll have to do on this. So this is, like I said, initial crack, and it's a fairly small plan, if you will. And then I think there'll be quite a bit more that we'll be adding to it over the next several years. And we're looking at funding. What kind of funding opportunities will the state provide? There will be some that we're aware of right now. I think there's a call coming up in a week or two with Commerce to find out about more upcoming funding to continue doing this work.
Thank you.
Russ, did you have anything else to add? Okay.
I had a kind of a related question. It has to do with how this gets incorporated into our code ultimately. And so I think you might have partially answered it. That will be something that the actual like text will be written over the next several years. And this is the framework plan that will be the springboard. Is that?
So the actions and policies that are in this plan, we can take some of those and put them into the 2024 comp plan update that'll be next year. And we're going to start to put some of those policies in place. We'll be refining them, I think, over the next several years to be in compliance with the state requirements, and also to, depending on how the city wants to go, you know, how strong and how beefed up do we want those policies? Because of emissions targets, there might be a requirement for that. Right now, we had talked about that a little bit. This plan doesn't require those emissions targets, but in the future, we will likely have to incorporate that and decide as a city how to meet those. And then there'll be policies slated towards those.
It sounds like there will be an opportunity for the public to engage a little bit more, a lot more before this actually becomes part of it. Because we're familiar with the comp plan having public hearings and lots and lots of work and engagement with the community. I just wanted to make sure I said that out loud for anybody who watches this later, that this is like the starting point, but there'll be a lot of opportunity for the public to engage.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. I can't see anything but a ton of public involvement on it. I mean, this is the first plan. There won't be additional input on this particular plan, but moving forward as we refine it and into the policies, into the comp plan. Yes. Yeah.
Sounds good.
Mhm.
So I reviewed the plan, and I'm glad that the emphasis is on what the city itself can and is planning on doing on its own, and it's there's very little in the form of mandates and requirements put on the citizens. But in my review, there's one section that I want to mention. Well, actually, there's a couple, but the first one I wanted to mention is it's on page 79 of the packet. It's the B strategy number 2, cleaner energy sources. specifically BE 2.3, the solar support and incentives. In most parts of the country or even the world, this would make a lot of sense. But given that we get almost all of our energy from hydro, which is a green energy source, this basically encouraging solar takes us from one green energy source to another energy source. So on net, or maybe even not on net, maybe even negative, it's environmentally moot. And so I would say that's not necessary.
I'm noted. I think when we first looked at this particular action, it was just solar, and then we had asked the consultant to revise it to include these other renewable energy sources. That's why you see biomass, geothermal, sun, wind, water. And yeah, we'll make sure that the consultant is aware that, and this has come up a few times in this area, we just don't have the solar as other states like Arizona might. So, okay, I'll note that for them.
Alternative
Yeah, I was
energies.
strike solar and okay, got it. Let's do that.
And then I'm sure that in the process of changing the name from a CMP to a CSP, you went through and did a change. I found one that still says CMP.
Good, point that out, please.
It's
Make
on
sure we-
page 90 of the packet. It's CRA 3.1. That first line, it still says CMP.
Are you on, you said page 90?
Of the packet, yeah, it's the where it says it's almost at the very end. It's the CRA 3.1 CRA strategy number 3, implement the CSP co-benefits.
CMP. Yep, I see it right there. Sorry about that. Thank you. Okay, we'll get that corrected. It's great. This is kind of input we need to try to finesse this and get it exactly where we want it to be.
Yeah. And then in the section where you're doing an equity assessment, it's quite a stretch. It's quite interesting to see how each one of these can be viewed as a benefit for minority communities. But there's one that's definitely then should not be a 4. And that is under public and city EV infrastructure plan. This is on page 99 of the packet. It's under the equity assessment results, page 6. I'm not sure if this is what this must be what the Cascadia Consulting Group is, is giving you, right? But anyway, the public EV infrastructure, this basically is for encouraging the build out of more EV charging facilities in the city. That's the general gist of this. The primary beneficiaries of more charging stations for electric cars are electric car owners, which are primarily not minority and disadvantaged communities.
A good comment. I appreciate that. We'll mention that to the consultant as well.
Yeah. So I would suggest that be a 2 rather than a 4. So, or at best a 3.
Okay.
That's all I got.
Okay. Thank you
Yeah.
very much.
The one comment, I think I mentioned this last month, Commissioner Connor Davis. When it comes to the installation, program around the use of heat pumps, any, high SEER heat pumps, those are great, but to make sure that, when we're scoring these, should be a 4, but that should only be a 4 when it's replacing an old, outdated unit that's 20, 25 years old, not something that is 5 years old. I've got friends that they've got windows and they decided that they want to put in new energy efficient windows, but they're spending, $20,000 on new windows, but the carbon footprint to produce those new windows far outweighs, and it's going to be decades and decades and decades of energy efficiency before they might come close to breaking even. So just want to make sure that that time frame is kept in mind.
Okay, noted. I appreciate that too.
Melissa, I would just renew my, and again, I started by saying we're going to be discussing this for a while, and I understand that you're doing this for this purpose right now, but anything that is undue burden on our local business community, when it comes to points like Connor Davis just made, if there is something that needs to be done, that's one thing. If it's new development, that's one thing, I guess. But when it comes to enforcing solar, for example, when solar is much more a hardship on our environment, when it comes to the components that go into that, that would be something that would be a hardship on any local business to implement if forced, rather than if they choose to do that on their own and in their own time. So I've already made that comment to you personally in writing, and I would just renew that at this meeting. Thank you.
Okay, appreciate that. Thank you.
Any other?
No. Because the three that you guys said were the stuff that I was actually going to bring up.
Just
but
check on any-
Except for the nice catch of the CMT, CMB, CMM. That's above and beyond. That was a nice catch.
Well, with that, we will close out that portion. Thank you so much for your presentation.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for your input and comments. I appreciate that.
And we will move on to commissioner reports. So let's start with Commissioner Holt.
I'm sorry I didn't make it to the May 17th meeting. It was Norwegian Independence Day, and every year we always go down to the Ballard Parade. And of course, COVID had, canceled it. And so this year, the whole reason I didn't come was my mom has an issue with her knees, so she needed me to drive her down to the Sons of Norway and then go to the parade. And the parade, of course, started at 6 and we went early and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, so 17th of May, it was really fun to have the parade back. I've gone to that parade every year since I was a baby. I actually was in the Ballard Youth Band playing the flute and played the flute through the parade. And then I also would wear my Norwegian bunad from the Hardanger region, from Voss, where my grandmother was from, and then march behind the Sons of Norway section. But because of my mom's knee situation, this was the first year I didn't wear my bunad and I wasn't in the parade because there was no way she was going to be able to walk and wear her bunad. So
Well, I'm glad you were able to take her and that you're back today.
yes, it was just really cool to be down there. And then have you been to the Nordic Heritage Museum?
I haven't, but we'll have to chat about
It
that in the
is-
meeting.
Well, I've been there multiple times, but a friend of mine got married there. But I thought, Mom, okay, can I just run over to the Nordic Heritage Museum? And she goes, well, I better give you $20 because it's $20 to get in. And I go, really? Even on something of mine? She goes, yeah, they're going to charge you. And they did, but I hadn't been there for a while, and that museum is absolutely fantastic. And it just makes you kind of immerse yourself in the Scandinavian culture.
Well, I'm glad that you mentioned it because now hopefully someone will watch this video and go check it out.
Yeah.
So anyway, so I apologize that I didn't make it to the meeting, but it ended up being really something wonderful for my mom. And it was just fun to go. And like I said, it had been canceled because of COVID. And the ironic thing is not Ballard, but Oslo, Norway has the biggest 17th of May parade, 17th of May parade. Ballard has the second biggest. Bergen has the third biggest, and then there's a whole bunch of parades all over Norway. So, yeah. So,
Thank you.
anyways, yeah.
Commissioner Davis.
Yeah, so the last couple of meetings we've had Northlake and high school track meets. So on a great note, the boys and girls both won the regional district finals. Our boys 4x400 team is the second fastest team in the country. They established a state record about 3 weeks ago, and then they beat their own state record 2 weeks ago, and then kind of cementing themselves with the second fastest time in the country, second only to a team of stallions out of Dallas, Texas. It's incredible. It's a crew of boys and girls that both have broken 25-year plus records at the school. We have one kid a single kid who has the school record in the 1, the 2, the 4, the 800, and part of that 4x400 team. So pretty incredible names. Group. Max Cook has all of those records. We had a kid, Mason Jones, broke a 20+ year school record in the long jump. Faith Jackson broke a school record in the long jump as well. Just incredible. And both teams, the boys and girls, both won the district meet. So really impressive. On that note of young kids being active, I know that the city council has been there's been a focus on downtown here in North Cove, a lot of the disruptions. I was here last Sunday, or was the Sunday before, and several members of the city parks department. There were 3 gentlemen that were out here fixing some lighting fixtures that are typically kicked down on a Saturday afternoon. And all 3 had mentioned the need for a park ranger, somebody that can work in conjunction with the city. There are similar, if you take a look at the city of Everett, Mukilteo, I was looking at Marysville, they all have seasonal park rangers that oversee and help to prevent those kind of behaviors. Oftentimes just having presence does the job. But then they take care of things like, proper education, educating the community about upcoming events, which I know can be problematic a lot. There are a lot of events that happen here that I'm not even aware that is going on, and I live just a handful of blocks away. But those gentlemen also brought up the need to repurpose the old Lake Stevens dump site. I know that came up a couple of years ago when we were on the Parks Commission. The opportunity to turn that back over to city residents. There's 40+ acres there. Is that correct, Russ? Up 50, 60. It's a ton of space. And I'll tell you, as a resident, as fathered young boys, hearing from a lot of residents in the community, if there's any bond that people would vote in favor of, it would be to have a youth athletic facility, multi-use sports fields in addition to what's already on the docket. But it's clear that our youth need a good, productive place to go after school. That's it. Sorry for the long.
No, yay,
Response.
Stevens.
Yeah, good stuff.
Good stuff. In keeping with focusing on what's going on here in Lake Stevens, Dave and I had the opportunity to be invited out by Sergeant Valvik on Friday night to have a demonstration of the new drone that our company donated to the city a year ago. It has arrived. It is amazing. And in the most recent testing that they were doing over the water, it was the only drone to be able to find somebody submerged. It also is available to go at Mach speed over the city. We were watching all those kids on Friday night. We can identify them. But it is fast, it's quiet, it's smart, it's something that we should be really, really proud of. Everybody wants to be Lake Stevens right now. So I'll leave it at that. If you get the opportunity to see a demonstration, take it. It's super cool.
I have nothing.
And I likewise have nothing. So we'll move on to the planning director's report.
I'll just briefly respond to Commissioner Davis's comments. So definitely Park Ranger has been something. Thank you. Park Ranger has been something that we have talked about in budget over the last few cycles, and I'm sure that our Parks Department will bring that up again. Also, the review of the old dump site that is still ongoing. It's still probably a few years away. The first thing would be to bring it into the city limits, and it still has to go through its final approvals from the Department of Ecology to transfer the land uses. And again, they're still a few years out, but we do continue to look at that site as potential. Other than that, I really didn't have a lot of comments tonight. I can just say we've been really busy in the department going through all of these plans at Mach 1 that we've been sharing with you. So we're close to the end of our housing action plan. We're close to the end of the climate plan. And getting ramped up on our 2024 comprehensive plan, and should be bringing you some information on the 2023 plan shortly.
Sounds good. Thank you so much.
Yep.
So that brings us to our adjournment. Do I have a?
So moved.
All in favor?
Yes.
Excellent. We're adjourned.
Double check. We're having a meeting on June 26th. Are we having a meeting on?
So we are having a meeting June 26th. The commission had asked to cancel the meeting the week around